Feast of the Transfiguration of the Lord. Jesus' transfiguration was a dramatic demonstration of the significance and divinity of Jesus. It was a revelation of his glory. The Lord took Peter, James, and John to a mountain to pray, and while they were praying, the face of Jesus began to shine like the sun. His clothes were white light, and the voice saying, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him." From Matthew chapter 17, verse 12. To really wrap our minds around the Transfiguration, it is helpful to look at the buildup to this powerful moment. Some significant things were happening in the weeks leading up to this event. The Pharisees and Sadducees had come to Jesus demanding a sign proving he had come from heaven. Jesus' reply was that they knew the signs. It is interesting that the Pharisees and Sadducees had been asking for the very thing that the disciples witnessed in the Transfiguration. But Jesus refused to indulge the religious leaders. It probably would not have mattered anyway, because they would not have recognized the truth. Jesus explained to them that there had been plenty of signs indicating who he was. He had cast out unclean spirits, he had healed the sick, and he had taught with authority. And yet they couldn't recognize his sovereignty because they refused to. When Jesus had asked the disciples who people say he is, they replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." Then he followed the question with, "Who do you say I am?" Peter responds with the correct answer, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." A couple of things should jump out at us at this point. The first thing we should notice is that the disciples didn't demand a special sign for Jesus to prove his identity. While following him, they had seen enough to know who he is. Transfiguration was confirmation of their growing faith, and the voice from heaven sealed their faith in him. The second interesting point is that people believed that Jesus was one of the prophets, especially Elijah. But during the Transfiguration, Elijah was actually present and speaking to Jesus. St. Matthew tells us that from that time on, Jesus began to express to the disciples that he needed to go to Jerusalem, where he would be killed and then raised on the third day. Peter, always the spokesperson for the group, had argued with Jesus that this shouldn't happen. Jesus rebuked Peter and told the disciples they needed to be willing to take up their cross and follow him. The disciples believed Jesus to be the Messiah, but they held on to the idea that the Messiah was coming to deliver Israel from Rome. They weren't ready for the idea that Jesus was coming to deliver humanity from sin, which would require dying. Transfiguration helped booster their faith and offered a touchstone that they could look back on when things got dark. For 3 days, Jesus' body would lie in the tomb. The disciples would need moments like the Transfiguration to help them not abandon their faith in Jesus as the Messiah. The lesson for us from the Transfiguration of Jesus is that we too need to listen to Jesus to interpret our world through his teachings. And we need to conform our lives to him, no matter the circumstances. May the God of the universe, in creation, in redemption, and the transfiguration of all things, bring us blessings of mercy and strength and peace.